Hello, I'm Eric Anderson. Welcome to Season 6, Episode 9 of YXC Underground, and welcome to Beaver Creek Conservation Area. This area, which is about 15 minutes south of Saskatoon, is home to beautiful prairie landscapes, rare and threatened species at risk, and it's where you'll find Saskatoon's Kelton Braun most days. Since 2020, Kelton has been an environmental educator for the Meewasin Valley Authority out at Beaver Creek. He does incredible work with Saskatoon students, teaching them about this beautiful and fragile ecosystem. Kelton also teaches the general public about the plants, wildlife, and especially pollinators that call Beaver Creek home through specially designed hikes called wildflower walks. I met Kelton for the first time last summer when I signed up for one of these walks. His passion for nature and ability to connect people to the outside world is worth celebrating. And after spending a few hours with him last year hiking around Beaver Creek, it was clear he needed to be on the podcast. Hiking with Kelton is special. One minute you're gazing out at Beaver Creek, admiring its beauty, but maybe not noticing the little things that are happening. That's when Kelton taps you on the shoulder. Kelton, what's happening?
Wow, well, we're just staring at this little beaver dam, and suddenly a beaver appeared. I thought this was a dam that they weren't using. I haven't seen a beaver this spring yet. There he is, poking his head up over there.
Oh my gosh.
We were staring at this for at least a minute, and I didn't see him at all. Must have just been hiding there. Wow, that's so special. We don't see beavers super often here at Beaver Creek because of our hours. Beavers usually come out early in the morning or late in the evening, and so I often tell people just to go to the river in the city to look for beavers. So that's really special. Really lucky we got to see that.
It knew we were doing a podcast, and it wanted to be on the podcast.
Wow. It's kind of taking time away from me, but I guess that's okay.
I can assure you this rare beaver sighting did not steal Kelton's thunder. In fact, it was the perfect way to end our morning together. I met up with Kelton a few Fridays ago at Beaver Creek to learn more about the work he does teaching people about conservation and our prairie surroundings. I also wanted to discover where Kelton's passion for nature comes from. We also talk about what people in Saskatoon can do to protect our prairie plants and the pollinators who have called our community home for many, many years. It's so much fun hiking with Kelton because he sees things that most of us would never pay attention to, and then he's able to tell you about those things in a way that will stick in your head. Myself, Kelton, and Saskatoon photographer Chelsea Klett hit the Red Trail at Beaver Creek shortly after 9 a.m. It was a bit windy and the air was crisp, but the sun was shining and Kelton was eager to hit the trail.
It's so exciting. I'm always going out in late winter, just hoping to see any sort of life, any buds, and the crocuses are always it's hard, like I don't know how you couldn't love them. It's so exciting to see them come up first thing. We have other flowers that come out really early too, but the crocuses are just so pretty and so showy. Yeah, they're just so awesome.
And we're going to go find some, aren't we?
Yes, we definitely are.
Okay, so as we keep walking on the trail here, I am so curious. Like, you know, when I come to Beaver Creek, I'm viewing it through a lens of like, oh, I'm just sort of in awe of everything and stuff. But when from your perspective, like through your lens, like how do you view the park? Like you must notice things that, you know, someone like me would maybe just walk by. Like I would not have just, you know, felt the buds of a Saskatoon berry bush, but they're fuzzy. Like how do you view the park?
Well, I'm often, even on hikes, kind of wherever I go, my wife gets a little annoyed at me sometimes. She's very patient and really amazing, but like it's understandable. I'm often stopped, like, whoa, look at that little flower or whatever. Or like, oh, cool, look at this little bug. And she's really good, but also like it does make the hikes a lot longer, and she's been very, very patient with me. But yeah, at Beaver Creek, I'm always just kind of, because I love flowers and bugs, I'm often looking down at the ground, scanning either side of the trail, trying to find any interesting flowers or a flower I've already seen, trying to find a cool insect on it or something like that. Yeah.
Why do you think it's like it's clear, and it was clear to me last year when I met you and went on the pollinator walk, like you are so passionate and you love your job so much. Like, why do you think the education part of your job, Kelton, is so important?
Well, I think the like flowers and insects and everything brings me so much joy. And I love, like, I could spend an hour staring at a flower, watching different bugs and whatever else come and visit it. And I want to spread that joy and have others feel the same way. And also, I feel like it's important we learn about the environment around us, because this is, people, the mountains and the forest are so enticing to so many people, and I understand that, but which is great. They're beautiful, but we need to also appreciate what's around us, because this is what we live in every day. And I hope through teaching people about this, they'll be able to appreciate it a little bit more.
Do you find that, because I'm glad you brought up like the mountains and the forest, because there's a certain boldness to that, and yet I think with grasslands and with a place like Beaver Creek, like it's a bit more subtle, but I think there's beauty in that too.
Definitely.
When you're speaking with people and leading kids and adults on tours, like are they open to that? Are they open to learning about just kind of the subtle beauty of what's around us?
They can be, like those that pollinator walk you mentioned last year, which we're doing again this year, but they're called wildflower walks, but they're the same. People who come on those are a lot more open to it, because they've already bought in, like literally they paid to come out and listen to me talk about wildflowers and bugs. But it's the general public and kids that are a lot more difficult. There's this concept known as plant blindness, which is where you see plants more as the background, not as like individual living things. You see like standing up on the deck up there, you see the forest as a place where birds and mammals live, not as individual plants, each with their own kind of story. And so through my education in general, like teaching people about nature, I want to change their perspectives, which is difficult to change someone's worldview. But I just want to change it a little bit, so when they're on a walk by themselves, they see a flower and they don't just kind of walk by. They stop and look at it, and maybe see some of the structures in there, or watch a bee at it. Or if they're looking at a forest like here at Beaver Creek, they don't just see green. They see different shades, different textures, and individual living beings.
Like what you do when you hike with your wife, which can make for a long hike, but
Yes.
you're noticing these individual things, aren't you?
Yeah. You don't have to do it as often and for as long as I do, but even just to slow down on your walk and look at the things and appreciate what's around you.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. Okay, so we're continuing on the red trail here. I remember this spot from last year when you led the walk and you were pointing out lots of different things. So, where exactly are we right now, and what do you see, Kelton?
We're on the bridge on the red trail here, just over top of beautiful Beaver Creek. Right now, we can still see some snow over there, still hanging on, even though it's been so warm lately. Just at the other side of the bridge, I saw some gooseberries starting to leaf out, which is very exciting. What else do we see? There's you can notice way over there, the birches are those big white trees.
Yep.
They're starting to kind of look fuzzy,
Yeah.
which I love. You can see those are just all their buds starting to get bigger and not quite leafing out, but getting ready, and it almost looks like a little bit of fuzziness around it.
Yep.
And I believe that's where a great horned owl nest is. Yeah, so it's always have to I always walk up this way quietly, because we can often spook owls around here.
Are you, when you look at the level of the creek, is it okay? Is it low? How are you feeling?
It's pretty darn low. It's been low basically since I started working here in 2020. I've been told it can get quite a lot higher. I can't wait to see that one day. But yeah, it's quite low. You can see there's Like on the side, it's a bunch of, I would guess, goose tracks in the mud there, really shallow, and there's just a little channel where it's a little bit deeper on the left there. But I did see some little minnows, little fish swimming in it yesterday, which was kind of a surprise. I guess thought it was too early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When do you because I know this place is very special to you. Do you ever like how do you balance the feelings of like you're excited to see everything, but yet you're a bit concerned about maybe some of the changes that you see? How is that a tough balance for you, Kelton?
Yeah, it can be. I feel like in conservation and in science in general, that happens a lot. A lot of like scientists and conservationists can be pretty depressing because they're really excited about whatever their thing is, but usually their thing is in peril in some sort, and so it can be hard to think about that a lot. I honestly have gotten pretty good at just kind of ignoring it for the most part, or blocking it out and only thinking about it at certain times. But yeah, seeing the creek so low is worrisome. It being April and there's not much there does make me worry a bit for the summer ahead. But just kind of have to hope that things will be all right, I guess. Yeah.
When you are leading your walks and educating people, is it kind of a balance of highlighting all the beauty and all the amazing things here with some of the challenges as well?
Yeah, definitely. I always want to definitely get people excited at the beginning and show them a lot of exciting things throughout. But then at the end, I try and talk about, like the important message and like how people can help just living in the city in their own yards, which I could go into, I guess.
Yeah, if you want, I would love that because that was one of my biggest takeaways last year from our time together was just learning what I could do at home. So yeah, do you want to keep walking and then you can?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
There's lots of things people can do, even if you don't have a yard. But if you have a yard, one super easy thing people can do is just to leave the leaves on the ground in fall and not clean them up until springtime. Same with like all the perennials and annuals that people have. Just don't cut them down, leave them up, and that's really helpful to all of our pollinators and all insects in general, because they use those leaves, that leaf litter, as overwintering sites. So even, we haven't seen any butterflies yet, but yesterday I saw a bunch of mourning cloaks and tortoiseshell butterflies, and they spend the winter as like adult butterflies in leaf litter. So if you're cleaning all that up, there's less habitat for them to be able to survive the winter. And so same with the stalks of your annuals and perennials, a lot of insects, even some bees, can use those like basically little tubes as a cozy little spot to spend the winter. So that's a really easy way just to help the insects out, and it helps insulate your perennials as well if you have a bunch of leaves on your flower beds. So it helps you out too. And same with a lot of birds will be very happy if you leave your plants up that have some seeds, and then they can munch all winter long. So that's super easy, just to wait till spring. Even probably not until like partway into May. I haven't cleaned up my leaves yet on my flower bed, but it's just really helpful for the pollinators. And also planting native species is super helpful. If you have a yard, you're able to. That's super, really, really helpful for our pollinators especially. But when you're buying these plants, you have to make sure you're buying locally, and not like going into a grocery store or a garden center and buying just like a generic wildflower seed mix. Like Mackenzie Seeds is a really big seed company that has seeds, sells seeds throughout the country. And they have the same wildflower seed mix in Ontario as they do here, as they do in BC. And so, as we all know, we can't grow the same things in BC that we can here. So if you're planting that, probably a lot of them aren't going to survive from year to year, and or be able to survive that summer through our often very dry summers. And some of them can even be like invasive and aggressive, and can spread throughout. So it's important to buy, if you want to buy seeds, buy them from local producers or buy started plants. Like Blazing Star Wildflowers they're based just in Aberdeen. Prairie Bouquet is another one that I'm not as familiar with, but they're just like right outside Saskatoon as well. So it's really important you're buying plants that will survive. First of all, if you're buying a native plant, and if you're buying from local producers, they'll be able to even talk to you and help you through a little bit. But then making sure what you're buying isn't actually going to hurt the environment around you.
I want to ask you again about the native prairie grasses and the plants, because that was one thing again that stood out to me last year, and especially when it comes to fire. But before we get to that, when you are, just to bring it back to what people can do at home, do you find that like when you're telling people this and kids this and families this type of stuff, are they surprised to know that, oh, there are things I can do, and they might be little things, but they could like really make a big difference? Like, do you find that they're surprised by, oh, what are we looking at?
Just some buffalo berry is starting to bloom. They have tiny little yellow flowers, but they're really one of the few that are this early. And so often, it's a little chilly right now in the morning, but these will probably be just full of various bees and other pollinators come this afternoon. For such a big thorny plant, they're just tiny, cute little flowers.
I love the fact that you noticed that while I was like staring straight ahead, trying to ask you a long-winded question, Kelton. That's great.
Yeah. But yeah, to answer your question, a lot of people don't often think, there's kind of a stereotype, I guess, of plants, native plants, that they're not as pretty, or they're really aggressive and will take over your garden. And there are certainly some that are both of those, I guess, but a lot of native species are really beautiful and won't spread and take over, and they will be really, really good in your garden because they don't, they've evolved in this environment. They are used to lower water, and so they can be really hardy in your garden. And they are still really beautiful. They're great things to plant, for sure. Yeah.
Love that. Are we, now, if memory serves, are we getting closer to a spot where, was it a couple years ago you guys did a controlled burn? Are we getting closer to that spot, or is my memory failing me?
Yes, we'll be right around the corner, just past those trees. Okay. We'll be at a spot where we can see where they did a controlled fire back in October of 2022, I believe. We'll see how that's coming along. Okay. So these are some prairie crocus flowers, or some people call them Eastern Pasqua flower, I believe.
We are right on the ground right now. Like you're on your knees. You're really looking at these guys, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's important to get down there and just kind of, so you can actually see and appreciate them more. Now, it's a little early. They kind of close up for night, and it's still a bit chilly, but usually they'd be open, and we can see they're beautiful inside. So
Kelton's opening the flower right now, the crocus.
They're all, you can see kind of a paler shade of pink on the inside of the petals, and then they have all those beautiful yellow stamens. It's such a nice contrast in there. And there are, if you look close at this petal, even some little insects that have spent the night in there. And crocuses, as you'll notice, are very fuzzy. Whenever I pass by, I always give them a little pet because they're so soft. Just kind of like downy soft. And when they're open, because they're often they come out early in spring when it's still quite chilly, and their lighter petals kind of almost acts like a dish to push the light to the middle. So it's a warm spot to also kind of attract insects to it themselves. And the fuzziness really helps insulate them on these cold spring mornings. Less so today, but last week when it was, oh, we had all that snow.
Yeah.
There definitely would have been some crocuses up, and they are just fine because they're
I was
nice
just
and
about to say
insulated.
they can survive that, hey?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they're no stranger to a spring snowstorm,
Wow.
for sure.
Now, is this where we are right now? Like, there's a little bit of shelter for them. Like, is this a good spot for crocuses, or can they grow anywhere on the grasslands?
Um, Not quite anywhere. I do tend to find them like out at Crocus Prairie on the north end of town. There's tons there, but I often find them almost in little slight depressions. It seems like they like just a slight microclimate there.
Okay.
You can find them in a lot of areas in grasslands throughout the province. But here, yeah, we're a nice kind of warm little, almost like a little slope. They probably wouldn't do quite as well just up there with all the little snowberry shrubs. The grass is a little thicker. They like it a little more open. And sometimes even a little sandy. They certainly don't mind at all. And like Beaver Creek is all kind of stabilized sand dunes. And so that's why our ground is very, very sandy here. Yeah. And they don't mind that at all.
Okay. And then what types of pollinators will come and visit these crocuses?
Basically anything that's out right now. Mostly it's little solitary bees. I've seen a couple bumblebees out, but not too many yet. They're one of the few really good sources of nectar, along with that buffalo berry that we saw for a lot of pollinators. Yeah, so basically anything that's up and out, we'll try and find them.
Okay. Very cool. Good eye, Kelton. Good eye.
And so right about here-ish is where the burn starts, is where it was 2 years ago. Maybe we'll go just slightly further. Here. Yeah, you can almost like see the line.
Oh, yeah.
Where here there was no burn,
Yeah.
so it's all really thick grass. There's a lot of dead thatch, they call it, the dead grass and plant material that collects. But then over there you can see already it's greening up way more. There's way less of this dead grass. Just looks a little happier.
And then what's all sprouting out then amongst the grasses?
Right now it's mostly looks like it's mostly the grasses. You can see all those little kind of eyelash seed heads.
Yeah.
Is blue grama grass.
Oh, okay.
Or grandma's eyelashes, some people call it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of what's starting to sprout right now. And then you can also see some of those shrubs, the kind of reddish, thorny ones, are all prairie rose.
Oh, okay.
So in a month or two, we'll have a beautiful show of all the roses here.
Wow.
But yeah, I think it's mostly grasses popping up. We'll get just a little further down, go into the prairie slightly and see what we can find growing on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, like you said, you kind of have to get down in there to really appreciate it.
Yeah.
It is a subtle beauty, but that's kind of what I appreciate about the prairies. They make you work for it a little bit, you know? You have to get down in there and then you can see an incredible diversity of different growing things. It's not as showy as like a grand forest, which is beautiful in its own way, but that's what I appreciate about the prairies. Yeah.
I think there's something to be said too about like it takes tenacity to go, and I think there's a tenacity amongst prairie folks as well. But yeah, there's something to be said, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. Let's go see what we can find.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, if you guys don't mind, I think we'll go just up over that way a little bit.
Okay, you lead the way.
Okay. You can see some of these these crocuses are kind of past their prime. They're already, like this one here, you can see that center section is already kind of expanding and getting bigger. And that soon it'll turn into a big fluffy, all of its seeds, all of its fruit. Which is also something I like to talk about with groups, is that a lot of people don't know that you can't have fruit without a flower. Like there's kind of a disconnect there, that all fruit comes from a flower first, because it's the inside is the seeds. And so soon here we'll have all the beautiful, and really nice, kind of stand on end and can catch the sun really nice when the crocus seeds are going.
And a very silly question, but when do the seeds just drift on the air then, or on the wind, and then just settle where they do?
Yeah, they'll be carried away by the wind once they're ready to fall off. And crocus seeds are really kind of weird, really interesting in that they have the seed is at the tip, and then they have a long awn, it's called, kind of like a long tail out the back. And they're really weird in that they can kind of drill themselves into the soil. So when that tail gets wet, it'll coil up, and then when it dries, it uncoils. And so it'll keep doing that, coiling and uncoiling, and the seed is quite pointy, quite sharp. And so I don't want to say the hope, but best case scenario is it lands pointed down on some soil, and then as if it rains or maybe some morning dew, that'll coil and uncoil, and it'll kind of drill itself into the earth and like plant itself, which is really cool. Yeah, and it goes quicker than you'd think. Like you could almost watch it, how quickly it spins. Yeah, it's really neat.
Like when you were learning this stuff, in these types of facts and neat things, like did it just blow your mind a bit, Kelton? Like, not only about crocuses, but like I'm sure you could wax poetic about every plant here, like, but like that's so neat. Like, did that just blow your mind?
Yeah, I'm constantly learning more, and like I couldn't consider myself an expert, just because there's so much more to know out there. But yeah, I'm constantly amazed at nature. And just yesterday I was out for a walk on the prairie out here, and we saw a plant that it looked like a flower. It was extended and was yellow at the top, but actually it's a crazy rust fungus that infects the plant and forces it to grow tall, and then all the spores are yellow at the tip to make it look like a flower, so that a pollinator of some sort will come by, get covered in spores, and then spread the fungus to other plants. It's a crazy thing, and I've never seen it before in real life, just in pictures, and it was just so amazing to finally see it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have to do anything then to like, or do you just let nature be, or what do you do with the fungus? Because
Yeah.
when I think of fungus, I think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, sure, but no, this one it's naturally found here, and they're so few numbers. Like I've walked out in the prairie so many times, and I've only seen it just this once. So it's not very common, and it's naturally found here, so we just let it go. Just like a lot of, you'll notice as we walk through the forest in a bit, there's a bunch of, it kind of looks like dog poop on the trees, and it's called black knot. It's a fungus. You see it a lot in the city, and out here too, and it infects chokecherry trees, and it will slowly kill them, but it takes a long time. And it's not like beside me here, this grass is an invasive species. This is smooth brome, it's called, and that's part of why they burned here. So this guy, unlike those fungi we were talking about, will take over the prairie. So this was introduced from Europe or Asia, and it was brought over by colonizers so they could have, it's really good feed for cattle, but it will take over a prairie, and where there's a ton of smooth brome, your diversity in plants goes way down. And so that's one of the reasons why they burned this area, was so that they could hopefully slow its spread down, hopefully kill it, because these guys didn't evolve with fire like all of our native prairie plants did. Naturally there would have been fires come through every 10 or 15 years, and so they're the ones that couldn't survive that would have died out. And so all of our plants are adapted to fire, and can survive quite easily.
That was, again, and I know I wanted to bring this up a few minutes ago, but that was, again, one of my biggest takeaways from our time together last year, was that the native plants here, like they've through thousands of years. Like they've earned the right to sort of stay here because their root system's so deep, isn't it?
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they can survive a fire, which is why you do the controlled burns because they they've earned it. Whereas an invasive species like this, like their roots don't go down as deep, and so the fire goes down the root, right?
Yeah, it can kind of, just the heat can like kill the growth point
Right.
beneath the soil. Whereas a lot of our native species, their growth points are just a little farther down the soil, and so they can much more easily survive a fire. Yeah.
And then they come back and they
Yeah.
look great.
Exactly. Yeah. All of these, like last spring, this was all just black, like the burn you saw when you drove in, and it just like that burn is now, it's greened up, and we see all these amazing plants that have survived. Yeah.
People tell me lots of things all the time, and not all of it sticks. But the fact that like you taught me that last summer, and we're a year later, and I still remember it, Kelton. Like it speaks to your skills as an educator. I think.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah. Let's head this way, I guess. You might remember from the walk last year, but there's a bunch of milkweed plants that live in this area. They're the dwarf milkweed or oval-leaved milkweed, and they're so beautiful. I love their kind of white, creamy flowers, and they are what monarchs really depend on. And we are at the very northern edge of the monarch migration. It's truly an incredible migration. They come up. I think it takes them like 3 or 4 generations to get up here. They'll leave Mexico. I'm sure they've left already, and then slowly make their way up through the states. And then I think last year we saw one up here, which is really exciting.
Wow.
So it's like great grandparent left Mexico, and then they lay eggs that hatch into butterflies, and then that butterfly flies all the way back to Mexico and spends the winter there, and then we'll start the cycle again. Really incredible. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy too how, I feel in today's day and age we want everything like right away, and there's like immediacy to life, and we gotta get things done right away, and yet nature just plays this really awesome long game, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. That's one of the great things about spring for me is just like all the potential that there is, and with gardening too, is what's going to come up, like what's changed today. And when through our spring programming with the students, I think I see something new almost every day when we're going on walks.
I was just thinking that too as we were coming down the trail. Is it nice to be in the same location where you can see, like, you're not like you can see those daily things, like you can see the change happening like from season to season. Do you like that?
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's wonderful to be able to see, like the same plant as it through its whole kind of annual lifespan, and you can really see small changes in the landscape, and be able to experience it through the season is great. Yeah.
If I want to attract butterflies, should I be planting milkweed in my garden at my house in the city?
Yeah, definitely. You could definitely plant milkweed. A lot of different pollinator or wildflower plants would be awesome too. But yeah, milkweed's great. Be best if it was one of our native species, like the low milkweed. But there's a few others that you can find in like garden centers and stuff. And I was thinking, you asked what can people do to help.
Yes.
Using how they purchase can be really helpful too. So if you go to a garden center and you could, ask them, do they have any native species? They're slowly becoming more common, but still not very. And, try and get them to bring some in would be awesome. Or even just getting involved in local organizations too. It's like Pollinator Paradise, the Nature Society, the Native Plant Society of Saskatchewan are all great resources, and you can go and volunteer with them if you can't, give money. If you can't donate to those places, you could give your time. and a lot of them have really great information on their page, or they'll host information walks or workshops or whatever where you can learn more. I always find when I know more about an area, or about anything, I wanna protect it more. Yeah.
Um, do you see, Kelton? This is a bigger question, but do you see like perhaps a shift, or even people being maybe more open minded to, you know, thinking about native plants and native grasses, and um, just maybe appreciating the beauty that's been here for a long time? Do you think there's a bit of a shift? Do you see that in our community?
Yeah, I think so. It's slow going, but I think there's a bit of a shift. You still see nothing frustrates me more than driving past a lawn that is a plastic lawn. They're
So my next door neighbor has one of them. They're very lovely people, but yeah, that
yeah, they're truly terrible for the environment. Just letting plastics right into the environment, and they form a barrier for any insects to go into the soil. But I won't rant about that. Oh yes, there is a shift, I think. Like the pollinator paradise here in Saskatoon, you can submit your garden to be a designated pollinator paradise, and they'll give you a little sign. And I got one last year, which I was very excited about. And I think they have over 100 gardens in the city that have, and part of it, the application is you have to say that you have however many native species. It's all about having native plants in your yard. And so the over 100 different gardens, different households have this, and that's just ones that have gone to the trouble of trying to get a sign. I'm sure there's a lot more that don't care about a sign, and there's still people who will complain about a yard looking messy or not their ideal of a yard. But I think native species in your garden don't have to look messy, and a lot of them don't. They look really pretty, and I'm hoping that as we go on, more and more people will plant native species. Yeah.
you're hopeful.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
Yeah. I also love the fact too. This is more just me talking, but like we've done like a little loop here, and like it's a bit cooler and windier over there, and then now like we just went down a little slope, and it's like it's a bit calmer, and I can feel the warmth of the sun. Like there's so many different cool pockets here, aren't there?
Yeah, Beaver Creek's it's a really special place because it's so varied. Like the Creek Valley is special in its own right, the creek, and then the forest is varied just throughout, and we get so many different species than you would at like Cranberry Flats, which is mostly just sandy prairie, and it's so fun. I like going up on this stretch of trail that we're about to go a little later in the season. There's not much flowering yet, but you can see so many different species that you would never see just across up over there on the prairie, which makes it really special. And that's also why we get so many different birds through here. It kind of compounds up. All these native plants are so important because they're the basis of the ecosystem, So they are what everything feeds on and shelters in, and the birds build their nests from. So we're lucky to have all this variety, because then we can have species at risk like the Sprague's pipit. We saw one stop by last year out in the prairie. They need a really large area of prairie, but then we also have common nighthawks that live sometimes throughout our valley. We saw a bunch last year, so it's exciting, the variety for sure. Where's that little guy? You might be able to feed a chickadee here if you'd like.
Okay, so Kelton, there are two right in front of us, and they're curious. So I'm
They're
sticking my
very
hand
curious.
out. Oh, they go to you first. They know you, Kelton.
Yes, we're good friends. Oh, you can see them there.
There we go.
Oh, wonderful.
When the kids do this, like what goes through your mind when you see the kids experiencing nature in this type of way?
Oh, it's so great to watch the kids' faces when they do this, and adults too. They just light up because it's so special, such an amazing way to connect with nature. Especially, when the kids come through in grade 5, it's such a important moment for them, and the hope is that one day they'll remember this and then maybe want to come work for us at Meewasin, or even just volunteer and help nature in the future. In the future, it doesn't even have to be here. It's trying to establish that connection with nature and why it's important.
I've been dying to ask you this question. How did your love and connection for nature, how did that start?
It's a good question. I've kind of feel like I've always been into nature. I'd spend a lot of time in our backyard just catching bugs and looking at flowers, and we had a farm that I'd walk around in fields a lot just by myself, just seeing what's out there. And my parents took me camping a lot in Cypress Hills, and it was just such a beautiful place there. And but then I didn't really get a love of like the prairies until later on in my life. Like in university, I had a couple very influential professors that kind of made me love plants, and then
How did they make you love plants?
Ooh, that's a good question. They just showed me how cool they are, how incredible plants can be, and their incredible diversity of plants. And then from there, I learned about how insects are also incredible and amazing. And then I think I just learned I just learned to love what's around me, because I wanted to go find flowers and insects, and the only place to do that is to go out into a prairie, a place like Beaver Creek. And so that's where I learned to really appreciate the prairies, and then working out here at Beaver Creek every day is you're immersed in it, and you kind of have to be, because I'm supposed to know what's on site so I can teach the kids about it and whatever. So it's great to be able to have to go for a walk as part of my job. Yeah.
Oh, that's a really cool thing that you just said. It's like, I have to go for a walk for my job. Like, no, most people don't get to say that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like we spend a day or so at the downtown Meewasin office every week, and it's a nice change, but it's very different from being out here in nature, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious too, because we grew up in the same city. I'm slightly older than you, but we grew up in Swift Current.
Yes.
Like when you were in high school, like were you into, like, was biology a big thing? Or like I as someone who used to work for the parks department of Swift Current, like, there are some lovely urban parks within the city, but it is neat that you spent a lot of time in Cypress Hills, because it is such a unique part of our province, and it's so beautiful. But like, so you mentioned a farm, but were you a biology guy in high school, or?
Yeah, biology was always my favorite subject. Loved learning about it. I had a really amazing biology teacher in grade 12 who was also very influential. Just, she had an amazing passion for
You want to give her a shout out?
Sure, yeah. Miss Simonson, or I guess, feels weird to use her first name.
I know.
But yeah, she's truly an incredible teacher. Yeah.
It is weird. For me, it was, I don't know if Mrs. Swan was still a teacher when you were at the high school in Swift Current, but she was the one that made me go down the history route, because I was so inspired by her. And then when I would come back in the summertime, she'd be like, "You can call me Wendy." And I was like, "No, I can't. You're Mrs. Swan." Yeah.
It doesn't feel right.
No, it doesn't feel right at all. But yeah, okay. Thank you for explaining a little bit of that, because I was very curious about that.
Definitely.
And I love the fact that you have to go for walks.
Yeah.
In your job. That's just great.
Great.
Yeah. Okay. We got to feed chickadees. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're getting closer back to the lodge, it looks like.
A little muddy here, but this is some of that ice left over from that spring I was talking about. Yeah. So usually this whole area where we're standing is solid ice, and the ice can get up to like the seat of the bench there,
Wow.
kind of swallow it.
And that's because there's a spring just over that
Yeah,
way?
kind of up over there. All that ice we're seeing is because of the spring. It'll flow and then freeze in winter, and it just kind of keeps building up and building up. And this is what's left.
Wow.
Oh, and this is a lovely plant. Always fun to see them in spring. This is a pussy willow, and you can see most of these are a little large, but the little guys especially are so soft. And you can see, so just like with those aspens and that balsam poplar, these are called catkins. There's a ton of tiny little flowers on this one structure, and what you're seeing sticking out, the kind of yellow and orange, are the anthers. So these will be male flowers. This species has male and female flowers separate. And these are an awesome source of food for pollinators early in the spring. A lot of little bees, little solitary bees, love to come, and you see them go up and down, kind of back and forth up each little catkin, foraging as they go. It's a little, there's a little, might be a honeybee over there. It kind of flew away, but a little later in the day, once it's a little warmer, there'll be a lot more out, and this will be kind of, I'd imagine this will be swarming with various bees and pollinators.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's just, a lot of people don't think of willow as a good pollinator, but yeah, or a pollinating food source for pollinators. But yeah, they love it. It's awesome. There's a little guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a little solitary bee there. Maybe a mining bee. Oh, so cute. Going up to more flowers up there. And I mentioned, I think I saw a honeybee, and I wanted to talk a little bit about honeybees because I love them. They're cute. I had one land on my hand the other day and it was like crawling all over me. And I love honey, but honeybees aren't naturally found here. They're not. They were brought over by Europeans when they colonized Canada, so they could have honey. But a lot of people, when they think of like saving the bees and stuff, they think of honeybees. But honeybees really are, I think of them like cows. Like they're farmed animals, so people can make honey, and some have escaped and are found in the wild. But they can actually take a lot of resources away from our native species of bees. So when like scientists talk about saving the bees, they're not talking about honeybees. They're talking about all of our native species of bees. And so honeybees are just one species, or more correctly called the European honeybee. And then the next, probably most charismatic, most easily identifiable would be the bumblebees. We have like 10 or 20 species there, and I love bumblebees. They're so cute, so like slow and fun to watch. And then the rest of our over 300 species of bees are all solitary bees. So honeybees and bumblebees live in groups. They're social. They have queens. Bumblebee hives are not nearly as neat and orderly as what you picture as a honeybee hive, and they're underground and kind of messy. But then the rest of our species of bees are solitary, so they live by themselves. They don't have these big social groups, and there's such an incredible diversity of them. There's like leafcutter bees, which are so cute. I love watching them. Any gardeners out there might throughout the summer notice little kind of semicircular holes cut in their leaves of some of their plants, and that's from a leafcutter bee. And they're quite quick at it. They have large mandibles that they snip a little hole in it, and then they take that leaf away. And it's very funny watching them because the leaf is like as big as the bee, and then they stitch those pieces together and make a little kind of cup, and that's where they lay their eggs and put some nectar and pollen in there for them. But there's also like sweat bees, which can be bright metallic green, and they've been known to land on people and lick up their sweat and to get the salts and minerals in there. And honeybees are cool, but I think there's so many more interesting, cool ones to learn about native species. Yeah.
Kelton, that was awesome. That was so neat, and it all sparked from us stopping and us looking at this pussy willow, and then all of a sudden all these things just happened. That was great. Kelton, you've been very generous with your time. If there are people that want to spend more time with you and want to learn from you, what's the summer look like for you?
Well, you're welcome just to come out and visit Beaver Creek. I'll be here most of the summer, or if not all summer. But to get more kind of intimate time, I guess, would be where I've developed a tourism pollinator wildflower walk out here at Beaver Creek. And those will be happening in July and in June this summer, Fridays and Saturdays, I believe. They're a good time. A lot of get to see a lot of cool flowers, cool bugs, get a nice cool drink after. But yeah, otherwise, and I'll be at. I've started recently volunteering with Pollinator Paradise, and they're hosting a pollinator celebration in June, June 9th, and be a good time to stop by. There's going to be a native plant market, and can talk with people who are growing native plants and learn more or just chat. It'll be awesome.
That's so cool. And as someone who did your pollinator wildflower walk last year, like it's I can tell you listeners, it's amazing, and you learn so much. And so hopefully this like will motivate you to come out and spend even more time with Kelton, because yeah, you're awesome. Thank you for your time this morning.
You.
Like this was beautiful just to go, like you said, you go for a walk, and it's a beautiful spring day, and I noticed things that I would not have noticed if not for you. So thank you for the work that you do.
Oh, thank you so much. And yeah, that's the goal, hoping to change people's perspectives just a little bit. Yeah.
This has been episode 9, season 6 of YXC Underground. My name is Eric Anderson. I host, produce, and edit this local independent podcast. My thanks to Kelton Braun for spending time with me out at Beaver Creek Conservation Area and sharing his passion for all things nature on the podcast. If you want to go on a hike with Kelton, and you really should because it's the best time, visit mewasan.com/wildflowerwalk to sign up. He has wildflower walks scheduled for June 21st and 22nd, July 5th and 6th, and July 26th and 27th. And I'll put a link in the show notes as well if you want to check out the website. Follow and listen to YXC Underground wherever you find your favorite podcasts, including Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also listen to episodes on the website, yxcunderground.com. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review if you like what you hear. Follow YXC Underground on social media. Simply search YXC Underground, and you can see some beautiful photos of this episode taken by Saskatoon photographer and my new friend, Chelsea Klett. I have been a fan of Chelsea's work for years, and I've wanted to work with her for a long time. So I finally worked up the courage to ask if she would be interested in collaborating, and I'm grateful she said yes. Thank you so much for being so much fun to work with, Chelsea, on this episode. And the photos are just stunning, so I hope you do check them out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I also want to thank Saskatoon's Danger Dynamite for taking care of the website. And before I go, I would like to acknowledge that this interview took place on Treaty 6 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis. YXC Underground is a production of the Salthammer Production Company. My name is Eric Anderson. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon, Saskatoon.